Slacklining in winter is mostly a big challenge. If it gets cold outside, you might like to find a way how to slackline indoor. In this video, I will show you some different options how you can slackline even at home. If you're lucky, you have a public gym in your town. Here in Munich, we could make an arrangement with a local parkour club. They have a huge hall with all the obstacles where they train in, where we can rig slacklines even from wall to wall on solid anchor points. In this hall, we can even rig a little highline with an airbag underneath. But actually, we can train there only once a week for one evening. If you want to slackline more often, you will have to get your own slackline. Of course, it's almost impossible to rig a regular slackline in your own room because the tension on the slackline is so high that you'll probably just rip off the anchor points. One solution is to rig a rodeo line, because a rodeo line has much less tension, but you have to take care. Your walls or your ceiling should be strong enough to hold the anchor points. Of course, you can't walk that much on such an indoor rodeo line because of the limited space. But it's just good enough to train your skills in winter. You can stand on it, make balance training, make some little steps, get into exposure. This is slacklining at home. But one thing you should really take care about is safety, because you probably have things with edges all around you, and if you fall down from the slackline, you should not hit them, especially with your head. One solution is to protect sharp edges with foam. Unfortunately, I don't have enough space in my room to rig a rodeo line, so I had to find another solution. The first option is a slack rack. A slack rack is a slackline mounted on a solid steel frame, and it's standing by itself, so it doesn't need any anchor points. So you can see that I can lift it. The regular length of the slack rack is 2 meters, but you can extend it step by step to 3 or 4 meters. But as I have limited space I only use 2 meters here. The slackline on the slack rack is mounted 30 centimeters above the ground. The second option is the gibboard. Actually, the gibboard doesn't really look like a slackline. It looks a little bit like a mixture between a skateboard and a slackline. In the beginning, when I saw the gibboard the first time, I was a little bit skeptical about it, because I asked myself, what can I do with it? For a slackline, it's too small. For a skateboard, it can't move. So what is it for? But I found out it's a really cool tool to do slacklining at home. As you can see, the gibboard is really lightweight. This board is only around about 3.5 kilograms, which is only 1/10 of the slack rack with its solid and heavy steel frame. This makes the gibboard really easy to handle and to use. One big benefit of the gibboard is that you can always keep it ready to use. Very often I just store it in the middle of the room, so every time I walk through the room I make just 1 or 2 steps on the slackline, which is just lying there right in my way, forcing me to use it. And if I get really bored of it, I just put it aside. Or you can easily store it under your bed. So what is the gibboard? The gibboard is a very short slackline mounted on a wooden frame which looks a little bit like a skateboard without wheels. The board is 1 meter long and 27 centimeter wide, and the slackline is mounted 15 centimeter above the ground. On this board we have a 2-inch slackline, but you can also get it with a 1-inch slackline. Okay, let's see what we can do with it. As you can see, when I step on the slackline, it's really flexing a lot because of the wooden frame. You would not expect this from a short slackline like this. And as you can see, I can even make little steps on this short line. Get an exposure, turn again. You can even make little tricks like technique. You see what you can do with the board. And then you have the option to play with the board itself. You see, you can make wheelies. To be honest, I prefer the keyboard to the slack rack because it's much more easy to handle at home because it's so small. And one thing is, if you want to go on the slackline as often as possible, you have to make it accessible every time. The really cool thing about the keyboard is that the slackline is so low that you can't fall, you just step aside. Another good thing about the keyboard is that it is so flexible to use. You can easily take it with you anywhere you want to go and slackline everywhere. It's a really cool exercise.